Hello everyone, welcome to the MockingCast. Today, we're going to be reviewing chapters 1 through 18 of the book To Kill a Mockingbird. I hope you enjoy.
Hi, my name is Jay. Today I will talk about the chapter 2 to chapter 6. So let's do the summary first. Deal, one of the Scout's best friends, leaves. At the same time, Scott goes to school. There are a lot of things happening around her, like Miss Caroline blames her that she knows how to read, and Walter always does not bring lunch. Once Jim, Scott's brother, brings him to their home and have a dinner. However, Scott dislikes what Walter does in the dinner, because Walter put more molasses all over his meat and vegetables. This, I think, is pretty disgusting. When she tries to criticize Walter, Caproniel teaches her that she has to be nice to the guest. When they back to school, Miss Caroline is terrified by a boy, and because there's some buds on the boy's hair, and his name is Bruce Ewell. He's from a poor family. He only comes to school at the first day of the school year. When he leaves, he made the teacher cry. I think this what a bad kids act like. So kids do not imitate his action. At the end of school, Scott began to hate school but ethics refused her idea. He replied that law forced them to go to school. Children who are listening to our channel, please do not hate school, because school teaches us knowledge. We should be thankful to the school. They make us to have more opportunity to have a better life in the future. Scouts endure a long and tough semester. When summer camp still comes back to the May camp, they play together in front of the Red Lee's house. As the summer passes, their game becomes more complicated, until they are acting out an entire Red Lee family melodrama. Finally, Atticus finds them and asks if their games has anything to do with Red Lee family. Once Dale, Scott, and Jim decide to go to the Red Lee's house and try to see anything in his house, suddenly they see a man with a hat and hear Shotgun's voice. They escape quickly, but Jim lost his pants. When they come back to the house, they found there are a lot of people gathering together. They are talking about Mr. Nathan Radley shot at a Negro in his yard. Atticus finds Jim does not wear pants as him. Jim lied to him by saying they are playing poker. So kids don't lie to the parents. When Jim comes back to the Radley house, he finds a brand new pants. Probably someone fixed it. Kids, we cannot come to strangers' house without any permissions.
Hello everyone, my name is Shane McCready, and you are watching the MockingCast. So, at the beginning of chapter 7, we see Jem and Scout going back to school. Jem tells Scout about the pants that were folded and hung on the fence. They find something in the knothole of the tree. For those of you who do not know what a knothole is, it is a hollowed hole out of a tree. It is very noticeable in the side of a tree. Oftentimes you will see animals in the knotholes of a tree. At this time, there was a gray ball of twine. Their first thought is to leave it, so they decide to just leave it. They come back and claim it for their own after nobody comes to get it. I think that this is important to remember, that Jem is older than Scout, so he has a lot of experience with school. Scout starts second grade, and she hates it just as much as she did first grade. Jem then reassures her that it's not as bad as she may think, and that it's only going to get better with time. Later in the story, other objects appear in the knothole. There are 2 figures carved into soap. These figures of soap look a lot like Jem and Scout. Then there is a spelling bee medal, a pocket watch, and gum. Nathan Radley is Boo Radley's brother. When Jem and Scout ask Nathan what happened to the knothole, he said that they put cement in it. They put cement in the tree because it was dying. They put this in for structural support. Maycomb finally sees winter. This was the first time in a very long time when Maycomb receives snow. We are used to seasonal snow, but could you imagine if we had snow every couple years? Anyways, there was enough snow for school to close. Jem and Scout decide to make a snowman. Mr. Avery is described as the really crabby man living down the street. They decide to make a snowman that looks exactly like Mr. Avery. They were able to make the snowman look so much like him that Atticus became upset. He said that they should put clothing articles on him to make him look more like a snowman and not exactly like Mr. Avery. Scout finds that Miss Maudie's hat and clippers as a disguise for the snowman. That night, Miss Maudie's house catches on fire. The neighbors all band together to help get some of her furniture out of the house. Unfortunately, her house is completely destroyed. The weird thing about the whole situation is that Scout mysteriously had a blanket wrapped around her. Nobody has any idea of how it could have got there, except for Jem. He says that when Scout is not paying attention, Boo Radley put the blanket over her. Jem also comes clean with Atticus about all of their interactions with Boo Radley. He tells Atticus about the pants, the knothole, everything. To the children's surprise, Mrs. Maudie seems very happy that her house is burned down. She tells them all the things that she hated about it. During these chapters, we see that Jem is becoming more and more mature and aware of what is going on in the real world all around them. Scout almost gets into a fight with Seiko Jacobs after he says that Atticus defends black people. Now, instead of saying black people, he calls them the N-word. This really stood out to me because I would never have thought that a kid that age would be using words like that. I think it is very important for us to understand that this is a very different time than what is like today. This is not an excuse for this language, but I think that we should know that they are two completely different time periods. Atticus defends Tom Robinson. Tom was accused of raping a white woman. Atticus knows that this is going to be a very hard case to defend, but he knows that this is ethnically correct to do so. At Christmas, Jack stays with the Finches. Jack is Atticus's brother. Alexandra also stays with the Finches. Alexandra is Atticus's sister. Alexandra has a very sexist view on how women should act. She often criticizes Scout for wearing jeans and not being very ladylike. Francis is Alexandra's grandson. He also stays with them during the winter seasons. While he was staying with the Finches, he calls Atticus a black people lover. Scout is so furious that she beats him up. She later gets spanked and punished for this. Once they leave, Scout tells Jack the truth. Jack is very mad about what Francis said. But Scout tells him not to say anything. There's a dog that comes out of nowhere. He obviously appears to be a mad dog that is clearly suffering. Atticus ends his suffering and gets the nickname One Shot Finch. Mrs. Dubose is an old lady who always shouts at Scout and Finch as they pass her house. Mrs. Dubose, again, using the N-word, and this time, Jem gets upset and destroys her bushes. As a punishment, Jem has to read to her. We see that reading helps her with her addiction to morphine. We see that in these chapters how easily and often the N-word is used. I think that one of the biggest takeaways or lessons learned from these chapters are that our society today is so much different than what it was back then.